Stewart, Seat, Glassburner, Miller, Gentis,
Here.
Turk,
Here.
Cosgrove, Chad. I see you on the screen. Frank,
Here.
Fleming.
Yes. Turned
So
off?
you have five, and then you still have a quorum, and I'll get Chad when he
Okay.
appears.
All right, sounds good. And was the meeting properly noticed?
The meeting was properly noticed.
Excellent. We have before us an 11-point agenda. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Frank, second by Fleming to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right. And we have minutes from our December 7th, 23 meeting that were circulated or are available on our iPads. Anybody have any corrections, comments? Otherwise, if no one has anything, I would declare them approved. Item 6 on our agenda, public comments. Do we have any members of the public, either here or online, that wish to address us? Doesn't look like it, so we'll move on to item 7, discussion and possible action, reviewing results of County Board Supervisor Reorganization Survey.
Okay, so this was requested at our last meeting, and so it was included in the packet. It's extremely small, and I apologize for that, but there was no good way to get this out to all of you. And it's really hard to quantify the results. It's really something that you need to review. Many of the questions that were asked were pretty much almost 50-50 as to how people felt. I think the moral of the story in looking at this survey, and Derek and I have kind of discussed this, as we are going forward and we are looking to address our committee structure and our board rules overall, is that we schedule a couple of working sessions and invite any and all who wish to attend from the county board to do so, to have input into the process. Because there aren't really clear guidelines from this survey.
What do you mean by working sessions? What would
So,
that be?
and this is my prior life comes into this a little bit. So in Minnesota, we have 2 board meetings a month. And then you have what are called working sessions. I believe in Wisconsin terms, they're called committee of the whole. And essentially, it is a time where we can advertise it. No action can officially be taken, but you can come and you can have dialogue on specific and or upcoming items that may require action. So, you know, this may be an appropriate time for us to utilize that opportunity to then have really good and thoughtful discussion on the proposals for the changes to both the board rules and the committee structure. We have had a phone call with Andy Phillips already. That's kind of later on, but it really does tie into this item of, you know, what are the board's wishes? What are we wanting to see? Are we comfortable with the way things are? Do we think there need to be changes? Do we have ideas, thoughts, and suggestions for what those changes should look like?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think, I know you talked about future, but I think that's a good idea for this, because this is truly very important, and you have to get everybody on board. And I don't think you got that many results back. A couple of people said to me, I don't remember seeing that. I was like, well, that was right on our right. So I think that is we should do that. You know, put ideas together and do that. I like that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think that is a great idea, especially when we're talking about the rules of the board and then even just the overall structure. That is something that you folks would, you know, kind of pilot anyways, the committee. So I totally agree with Candace that obviously we're not at a point to make any decisions today about reorganization, but at least if you're okay with that, that would give us like a nice direction to move forward so we can schedule meetings and then continue to develop this like Linda said. And remember, we really want to get all this done before April, right? Because the new term starts, so
perhaps piggybacking before a February board meeting or something like that.
Well, I think it should be a separate meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because this
I'm
is gonna
thinking
be
one
a-
opportunity before a board meeting when people would be gathering anyway, and then maybe a special
But
section.
it might be an hour or two, because
Right.
this is very important for the board to take control of what they really want and to work with you, and I think to have a good relationships.
And in those sessions to get as many voices as possible because like
Absolutely.
you said, there's a divergence of opinion on a lot of things.
And yeah, I mean, we had 25 people that responded to this survey, not 25.
You had the direct.
Yeah.
Wow. Very good.
No, we did. We don't even have 25 board members. We had
120%.
1, 2,
You
3,
had
4,
well over 11 at one
5,
point.
6, 15. Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
There was
that's
25
pretty
cents. But anyway,
good.
Chair.
Not bad.
So-
Chair,
so I mean, over half,
Yep.
which was good.
Mr. Steve?
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Steve.
yes, with regard to response to the survey, I was away in Chicago for most of that time. It was difficult for me to respond, and I hope that the committee can understand that.
Oh, yes.
It is not that I don't have opinions and
Yep.
views.
We'll definitely want to make opportunities for you and others to share those opinions, so.
Yep, and that's why the working sessions, I believe will, just give everybody a chance to, and, Derek and I are not the be all end all of ideas. And, we're working with Andy Phillips and he has a lot of great guidance and experience for us, which is wonderful. But the more eyes, ears and brains that you have at the table, the more variations and ideas and
Well,
suggestions.
it should be the county board who wants to do the restructuring.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So,
And there's also for vacant, or for, people, vacancies in districts for the election too. So if someone is interested in joining, obviously they'll be open to the public.
Yep.
This is good for new people to come and kind of see, okay, this is what I'm stepping into. If someone may want to, be a registered write-in and not just, so that's good to do that as well for that.
Thank you.
The other committee members have questions or comments about the board reorganization survey?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. C.
I'm having a little difficulty hearing. Is the PA system on?
No, we don't use the PA system in this room anymore. The microphones are built into the cameras and pick us up.
So we are unable to hear unless you speak up loudly without the assistance of a mic.
Okay, I will make every effort to make myself heard clearly.
I love hearing your voice as well as that of our chair and others, but if I can't hear you, I lack appreciation of your wisdom.
Understood, sir. Anybody else have a question or comment? If not, we'll move on to item number 8, discussion and possible action on committee structure reorganization.
okay, and this is really just an update for all of you, that in the last meeting, you did authorize us to reach out to Andy Phillips. And so we have done so. We've had an initial call with him, Derek and I. We have sent him our current committee structure, as well as our current board rules. He has suggested a couple of other counties to look at for Derek and I, and we found a couple that we think are comparable, that have some really good points that might make our operations a little more clear. And so we're going to start parsing out. Andy's gonna go through first and say, okay, this is all the stuff that's not legal, which we know we have those issues. So we're gonna pull those out first and foremost. But then there are other things that we know we need to clarify. So we're gonna start going through and highlighting the things that we like, that we think we would like to recommend to you all for adoption. And then we will start putting together that document. The discussion and the timeline is that we should have a draft by March. But that's also the reasoning to have these working sessions, because as we then progress through this, we can bring that to the committee or to the working group and say, okay, here's where we're at. Do you like this? Do you not like this? Would you like to see changes? If so, what would you like those to be? So that it's really a dialogue throughout the entire process, and it's a collaborative effort. So that's the idea that we have with that going forward.
And I think that's important for us to remember. What you're bringing forward are ideas. It's not you saying this is how it should be. And,
Correct.
we're all contributing along the way.
Yeah, it's options. And that's really, you are all the policy makers. We're the facilitators. We're the ones that should bring to you various suggestions. And then whichever direction you all as a board decide to move, Those are our marching orders and that's what we then carry out.
Questions from the committee?
So your statement, just to rephrase it so that I have a clear understanding, is that you will propose, board will dispose, and you will implement.
Roughly,
Right? Is that a fair statement?
and a rhyming one as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions? Forward to that. Item 9, discussion and possible action to set future meeting dates and times.
Okay, this shows.
Ingrid.
We have been trying to find times that work for a majority of members, and other committees are struggling with this too. Sometimes daytimes conflict with people who have work schedules, evenings aren't always best for people either. So we wanted to have a discussion as a committee, what could work for most of us, most of the time. Especially with the large things we're looking at discussing now, we need to make sure we get as many of us together as possible when we have a committee meeting. I will say just for me personally, daytimes are challenging because I do work and even evenings sometimes I'm traveling for, but evenings are much more easy for me to manage in my schedule than daytimes. The finance committee, for example, meets at 5:15. That seems to work for a lot of people on that schedule. It's not, 2 hours after the workday is over. So if employees are coming, they're not having to sit around and wait a long time. But it does give folks who work until 5 o'clock a chance to get here. I know the city has made a concerted push to move their committee meetings and everything to evenings to facilitate citizen participation. I think that's something we should consider. I'm not saying it's a have to or be all and end all, but I think it's something we should consider. And want to hear from you what all works for you guys. Want to start off? Or is there something that for sure doesn't work for you?
Well,
Afternoons and the evening time of 5:15 is really challenging for me. It would diminish my attendance a lot. I'm not saying you can't move it to that, but that's just the reality of the stuff I've got going on right now.
Okay, so
I can make a morning or afternoon work better than
then a 5:15.
a word to like.
Okay, all right.
And I guess I prefer them earlier. The projects that I'm on usually end up hitting in the afternoon and evening, but it's also once or twice a month, so I can work around pretty easily and pretty flexible.
All right.
But and I'm not quite, I don't have children coming home, I don't have some of those projects at home, I can.
I'm open because I'm basically not now having other things than this, so I don't want to determine when it would be. I think Monday nights or later afternoon and Tuesdays are harder. But
Okay.
depends on the Monday.
Right.
Well,
Mr. Steve, go ahead.
whatever. Mr. Chairman,
He's over there.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I probably from now on will not be a candidate for reelection. And from now on, most of the time, it will be more convenient for me to participate virtually if that is acceptable to the committee and to the board.
Absolutely.
I find it very difficult with my vision to come here. I have at home a large magnifying machine that helps me prepare for these meetings, but it's hard for me to follow when I come to the meeting. I have a dozen different kinds of reading devices here, but none of them are up to par. So I'm not looking for sympathy, but I'm looking for some understanding as to why I cannot be here.
Okay.
Uh,
Your virtual participation is more than welcome and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. The only problem with that is I gotta make sure that I get with Barb, make sure the computer connects me properly.
Yep. Supervisor Fleming?
Yes, for me, I'm self-employed, so working during the day, as long as I know when it is, I can work around it.
Okay.
This time of day works fine for me as well, 5:15 on some evenings, so.
Supervisor Cosgrove, how about you?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evenings are no good for me. And Wednesday during the day is not good, but other than that, I can try to be as flexible as possible.
Sound like a Thursday morning seems to be a safer time.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So
go ahead.
would it help you if we did it earlier?
I was gonna say that too. I could be here as
It
early
will
as.
depend on the day, so if you'll be patient with me in meeting scheduling, I'll make every effort to be able to attend, even if it is during the day, so.
But I mean, earlier, like 8:30 or 9 would be better than,
Not necessarily.
okay.
It really depends on the day. Like, coming up, for example, next week, Monday, I have 6 meetings during the day, so I will be tied to my desk for all intents and purposes, so. Fortunately, I don't have to drive to Madison for those meetings. I can do them online, but it does occupy my whole day that day. I'll miss the education committee meeting, so.
I ask another question?
Yes.
Because I think it's on our agenda. I mean, because we discussed it. I am confused about these working meetings. And we have to do it before, are we thinking only in March that you'll be ready? Shouldn't we be having one maybe in February?
Oh, we're gonna start them
Okay.
sooner than later.
That was, so do we need to discuss when that would be? Wouldn't we be offering that?
Well, when we get down, right now we're talking about meeting times, but the next discussion I wanted to have is when should we meet next? And would waiting a full month be advisable, or should we meet sooner than that? With as much as we're contemplating having coming up. So will that get to the things you're concerned about, Linda, if we have that?
Yeah, I was just sort of trying, I didn't know whether, I mean, it's sort of above on the agenda, so I just sort of wanted to make sure we're flowing with all that.
Yep.
And that meeting we probably want later in the day, I'm assuming because of the whole county board.
Well, if we're going to have multiple meetings, perhaps we could have one during the day, one in an evening, maybe before a county board meeting. So we space it out and give the most opportunity for the most possible people to have their voices heard.
You send out a survey monkey or something
That's-
for it?
That's what I learned.
So we could definitely do that.
Do a doodle. Marty
Yeah,
loves those.
And then
That works.
too, they could be structured, so it could be the same meeting, one offered at, the same session, one in the AM and one in the PM hours, and whatever works for people on whatever dates that works for
But it would
everyone.
be good to hear what other people said at that meeting.
yeah.
Or
That's-
we could do it virtually too.
Yeah.
So that would facilitate, even if somebody couldn't personally be here, they could at least
Yeah.
listen and hear what the
Yep.
discussion is, and if they needed or wanted
Yeah.
to chime in, they could. Because again, these are open public meetings,
Oh, yeah.
so we can do just like we're doing right now to, engage as many people hopefully as possible in the process, because I think that's important.
If we're going to have it as a meeting of probably the county board as a whole, as a committee of the whole, does that require a quorum since we wouldn't be taking any action? It's discussion only?
No.
Okay, so we'd be wide open as to how we can structure and schedule it.
Correct.
Right, so it would seem that for our regular meetings, probably Thursday morning is the safest kind of time for us to be looking at for most people's schedules. Like at 10 a.m., that kind of, okay. I think that was the old time.
Yes.
Earlier. Earlier. Could we shoot for 9? Okay, how about 9? Let's shoot for 9. And if we do have a long meeting, we can still be done by lunchtime.
That's fine.
All right, and
That could be,
that was my next question.
okay.
When do we want to meet again? Do we want to have another meeting before the end of January? I'll look to Administrator Pesh for some guidance, not knowing how fast your discussions and things are progressing. For when you'd want to start sharing things with this committee. And probably at that meeting, we would set our dates for our meetings of those.
Right. What are you thinking, Derek?
Well, I
Got a
think
lot on.
January is just busy with time,
Yeah.
here and stuff
the
and all that
beer.
other stuff, so we
First
briefly
part of February.
talked it over
Yep.
this morning, maybe, like maybe that first week in February, so the week of February 5, at least we would get through what we need to, and then have a little bit of time to,
So the Thursday
Reconnect.
meeting.
Well, February 1 is our normal meeting day.
our first meeting would be February. Meeting, so,
So do we want to have them?
why don't we have a meeting?
Will not be here that day.
Okay.
Just that. So I guess,
So could we have, if we schedule the regular committee meeting to be that day, just for consistency's sake, we can then do the doodle poll and send it out before, so we can touch on that, and then do the other dates for the work sessions, like that first week of February, and then start really planning them out. Would that work for you guys?
But you're gonna do the doodle for the work session.
Yeah, we'll do it for everything, but we'll use that first meeting in February to share the results of the doodle stuff, and then we can carve out the plan going forward, and then again, based on the doodle poll results, right?
I
That-
might be able to join virtually, but maybe.
So when you send the doodle, are you gonna send an explanation of the importance of that?
Yes.
Yes, and we will, we can touch on the board meeting too.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
I think we talk about that at the
Yeah.
board meeting in January, just
And is this target for having it ready by?
right.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we definitely would like this ready for the new board, because, again, people then know kind of what they're getting into when they walk in the door as far as the expectation of time and all of those things, and I think that's important, for them to know, so.
Chair, I just know.
Yes.
And I like us to get started as soon as possible, because last time, 2 years ago, it was rushed, and there were lots of people very upset because they weren't a part of it. So the more we can get everybody on board.
Great.
And this was the exact conversation Derek and I had this morning, because we talked about the history and how it felt rushed and people didn't feel like they had as much of a voice or their concerns weren't considered in the process. So we want to make sure we mitigate that as much as possible.
And it was very confusing. It was like the shell game
Yes.
every week, right? We had meetings, I think, every week or something, and there was not a lot of time to react and think about stuff. It was just off through it. So,
Yep.
let's not have that happen again.
Great.
So we can shoot to have the survey ready by the 16th then by county board, so we can tell people,
Oh, yeah.
the survey's coming out, make sure to answer it. You have until the 31st to answer it. That gives us a few days to compile it.
Yep.
We can share that with you guys on
We
the
meet
first.
Friday, we meet Thursday the 1st,
Sure.
so we give until
Yeah.
And there's nothing
26 or
that
something.
prohibits additional board members
Right,
from attending
That's
that
correct.
rules
Yeah.
That's correct.
meeting at that time if they want to be part of it right from the jumping off point.
Yep.
As well, so.
Absolutely.
I hope you can join that version.
Well, it looks like we are targeting Thursday, February 1st at 9 a.m. for the next committee meeting. And as far as agenda items, we'll definitely have the results of the doodle poll for planning some committee of the whole sessions.
If you guys pushed off that meeting in February, just throwing that out
Yeah.
there, till, because you're saying to have the survey results by January 31st.
Ideally, if we have the survey ready by county board.
I don't know if this, I'm just throwing this out there, but if we did a meeting then in the second week of February, well, it's really the first full week of February, I could attend that, and I don't know if that would give you a little bit more wiggle room.
I
But
mean,
that's gonna throw everybody else's schedule off, so.
Anybody else have a problem with
Yeah.
the 8th?
I don't have a little
Well,
problem.
we-
Well, the 8th would be the 8th.
HHS and veterans are in the morning, so.
That's
we'll
why
have-
it
want
doesn't
to
work.
meet like on Monday, like right away. Part of the week, if we're gonna push it off past the first.
No, yeah.
Yeah, just leave it.
Okay.
That, I mean, if you guys are able to compile things by then.
And you could also just, if you have thoughts and ideas, share
Yeah.
them, and we'll have that.
So February 1st, 9 a.m. Your next
Oh,
committee
wait,
meeting.
9 a.m.
Yes, now we're moving an hour earlier, that way we can run long on something, we're not blowing through anybody's lunch hours. Any other agenda items for that meeting that we want to be sure we talk about, other than ongoing updates of what we've had already? Yes, Ms. Johnson?
I know we don't have a lot of money, but if you're really gonna try to get everybody there, and it's before the county board meeting, and it's a lot of people. And I don't know about you, but maybe could we order pizza for the board or something, so that we're really all there, and, because it's always right in the middle of dinner, or doing something. Would that be a good incentive, or is that not a good idea?
Just throw in money too.
We can throw them, I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah, we can.
Everybody was pitching in.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if everyone pitched in, especially for the work meetings of people
Yeah.
that they want to choose and they want to.
I know in the past, when we've had like all-day budget meetings, we've had refreshments and stuff available.
Yeah.
for people, so
Yep.
I think we'd have precedent for that.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna piggyback on a board meeting, we are asking for a significant time commitment.
We are, yep.
Good idea. Any other future agenda items that we want to be sure to talk about?
We, enough.
This is gonna be a big bite.
The one, I guess, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
one ask that I would have, if there are particular things in our current board rules and or the committee structure that you as a committee really feel strongly about, either you like something or you don't like something, please share those with us, because that gives us some areas to focus on as well. If there's something that you find particularly, alarming, or you don't see the sense in it, or you have another idea, please share those as you come across them. Don't wait till all at one time, because then we can start incorporating those things or exploring at least other options now.
Sharing those with the body at the next meeting, or say with us, who is us?
With Derek and I.
They're the ones actively working on the ideas.
Did you want to be included on that because you're chair?
Well,
If you want to CC me, feel free. You don't necessarily have to, because I'll hear about it eventually when we get the feedback, so.
Okay, I just want.
Right.
it's the committee's responsibility to consider proposals for changes in the rules. Why would we be reporting to either you as an employee or Derek?
We're not considering, they're compiling for us at this point.
Correct. We're compiling all of the suggestions. That's why, so that we can have all of the suggested changes, or if you're requesting something, we can find alternatives to present to you.
So you're doing that on behalf of the committee to present to the committee.
And then we
Correct.
will consider it once they've got it all compiled for us.
Correct.
We're just the keeper of the documents, basically. We're putting that in a nice format that you can then review, synthesize, and process however you need to.
Else, future agenda items wise? If not,
Mr.
next item,
Chairman.
that would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I did just think of something, and I don't know if this was discussed at a previous meeting, but I know at one point it had been thrown around that we should be looking at or considering the orientation part of for new board members again.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's something we as a committee should look at, or.
There were discussions with John.
Correct.
Yeah.
And actually, Derek and I have begun discussing that as well. And I know Marty has asked me also to reach out to WCA and to make sure that we're arranging some training on ethics, on, role of the board, on, local government structure. So we're working on compiling some of that information as well. So that there is a good strategic onboarding process, and that we have, previously I created a pretty large binder for all new board members that had board rules, it had structure, and then it also had resources from Association of Minnesota Counties and things like that. So, Derek and I plan to compile all of that information to give them a good base. And then we would like to do the training, and we thought, per Marty's request, that the training would be for the board in the entirety, not just the newly oriented individuals.
That's what we did last time.
So
Yeah.
Derek, you probably know the packet that was already, there had been a special folder on it.
There was an orientation folder,
Yep,
and
and
I
I've
believe it's
seen that.
still there,
Yep,
right?
I've seen it.
And that had like the PowerPoints that, I know I did one.
Several PowerPoints,
Yeah, like that's when Candace was saying that it was kind of taking that stuff that we already have and reviewing it to see, I think most of it's still pretty applicable. It hasn't changed much. And then adding anything else, that needs to be in the session. So it's very similar to what we did last time, just updated.
So until I think the last one, because it was COVID, every 2 years I was on the board, the WCA did at the White House for several counties around. And I attended every time and you always learned something. And it was-
Fabulous.
It was always here for the other counties, so they would do that again and have those things. But I think it's also a good idea for our own, having an additional one just for us as well, to go over what the real committee, what they're doing, what it is. That would be my suggestion, but we always had a large meeting here.
Well, and to piggyback too, the really nice thing is on the WCA website, there are links to trainings that have been previously held. And I would like to compile a sheet with the links to a lot of those trainings too, so that they can watch them, at their own convenience, on varying topics, because Andy has done so many trainings and they're outstanding. And so I just think that way it gives them an opportunity to do it when it's comfortable for them as well.
Anything else? We adjourn? If not, adjourn to February 1st at 9 a.m. would be in order. Motion by Frank, second by Fleming. Those in favor?
I
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.